So, Jim, PJ, thank you for your time today. We're here to talk about the beta test, which is just launched on Arrow Blu-ray and Arrow Play. And I'm wording this question in a very specific and tricksy way because I know it could be taken so many different ways. But a beta test, or the beta test, I should say, what is it about?
Oh, Christ.
I've thrown about three questions in at once there. That's why. Sorry about that.
There's a bunch. There's a bunch of different things that it's about. The beta test is about a packaging agent at a big Hollywood talent agency who is going through a lot of stress before he gets married and during this WGA strike and fight with agencies that happened in 2019 and 2020. And he gets a letter in the mail inviting him to a no strings attached anonymous sexual encounter in a hotel room. And he is driven crazy by it. And he goes and it's wonderful. But then as promised by the letter, he never finds out who it was. And so it's a bit like Chinatown as a satire about Hollywood and how goofy it can be with a bunch of people lying and cheating all the time.
Goofy LA noir Chinatown. Yeah.
Is that succinct? Was that succinct enough?
That's beautifully succinct, yes. But there was
okay, cool.
The themes in particular that I wanted to highlight. One, I don't know if you're aware of it, but the social media commentary about all sex scenes being basically superfluous, and the other one is the themes of talking about agents, I guess, in a non too flattering light in a very short-tempered town like Hollywood.
Yeah, so, also superfluous. Yeah.
Well, yes, that's what had been proven in the last couple of years. Yes.
Yeah. So I think I understand the first prompt about sex scenes. So sex scenes are really absent from American films. We've become so Puritan. It's crazy. I was on Reddit on my phone last night, and there's a subreddit called Celebrities, which is basically, for whatever reason, just like beautiful women in movies. I don't know why it's become this like hot babe subreddit, which is so just stupid.
Walking out of Starbucks, just hanging out. Yeah.
But on the scene, it was a clip from American Pie, and it's when one of the actresses is topless in the film. And I remember thinking, this movie came out in the 90s, early 2000s, and you would never see this today. That would never, ever happen in like a big popular movie, ever. And it's just, it's so sanitized because we're trying to make movies for children through the film industry. And I think that's the foundation of PJ and my's career, is that we're making movies for, adults, for people who like adult films, for perverts. And so we're going to be fine for the next, we have job security for the next 50 years because everything's becoming more Disney.
It is indeed.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to agents as well, everybody kind of knows that stuff already. Like, I feel like the movie plays really well with general audiences because it's funny to watch people who think that they're powerful squirm. And it's like Triangle of Sadness or something like that. It's like really fulfilling for general audiences to be like, oh yeah, all this is bullshit. I kind of knew it was all bullshit. And so that's why we decided to do that.
So there was no fear at all in, I don't know whether this phrase translates, but poking the bear?
Not really. They weren't really doing much for us anyway, so I don't know. No one really seemed to mind.
Yeah.
We kind of made it. No one really stopped us and seemed too worried about it. And even after it came out, I don't know. We didn't get too much backlash, to be honest.
We did it entirely in secret, and it's a fucking anytime somebody was like, how dare you try to leak my emails to the press, or like, how dare you interview my ex-assistant for this research, it's like, look, it's a comedy about face sitting, and then immediately they can't, it's like a South Park episode. They can't take it too seriously. But two things. I want to give you something good. I did get dropped by my agents the day that the movie came out because Eric Cohn wrote an article in IndieWire that was, I mean, the headline is insane. Like IFC had to reach out to be like, this is a bit much. This is a bit industrial of a headline, but it was something rude. I forget what it was. And I didn't say it. It was whatever. Anyway, I got dropped and I felt like shit for about 48 hours. And I was like, did we go too hard on these people? They said, we hear you loud and clear. We're going to be cheering you on from the sidelines. And that was how they booted me. But then 48 hours later, Christopher Nolan called and he was like, hey, I want you to come in to audition for Oppenheimer. And I did. I didn't get the part, but he's just a fan. And it was like, you put something out and you're worried that somebody is gonna, you're gonna get into trouble. And then it's like, no, people will see it and support it. It's fine. You don't have to worry about, poking the bear at all. Poking the bear will sometimes get you more notoriety.
That it does. I might have my timeline wrong here, according to IMDb, as much as that can be trusted, but you both worked together first on Block Island Sound. Is that correct?
I wish. So PJ and I have been working together since 2005, 2006, which is psychotic to say. That's more than half of our lives ago. But no, PJ and I went to Emerson together in Boston, and he was in the acting program and I was in the film program. And then we started working on stuff together. We had like different cliques of people whose movies we were acting in and making. And then we made a film called The Flamingo in 3D that PJ's the star of, that I was a director on. And that was in 2010, 2011, PJ?
Yeah, 2011, I think we shot it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it goes back farther than Block Island Sound, unfortunately.
Oh, well, okay.
Yeah, we've worked together in different capacity, for a very long time, on a lot of different projects. How
did that evolve into co-directing and co-writing with this project then?
Very naturally. So when we started working on Beta, it was just long form phone calls and like hangouts, and we knew that we wanted to make something smaller. I had just done The Wolf of Snow Hollow, a bigger studio movie, and then we were just talking about it, and it became like a year of talking about this project before we wrote it. And then it really started to click, and it was like, we have 1,000 ideas for movies, and then some of them fall to the wayside, and some of them we can't stop thinking about, and those become the movies that we end up making. So it was very natural. We like started writing it together, and then in writing it, we act out all the scenes. So it was kind of like, co-directing already. PJ had never directed a feature before, and in the writing process, because he and I were both going to act in it, it was like, all right, well, we're kind of already directing the actors right now. Let's just co-direct it. It made complete fluid sense.
Okay. You got through those questions quicker than I anticipated. So I'm going
sorry.
We're
and we got it down.
How is it being received internationally then? It's such a very unique Hollywood movie in that regard.
We screened at Berlinale and Deauville and many other international film festivals. And I think people in Europe tend to look at movies that are independent coming from America much more like a documentary or something, of like they want to see what is going on the indie scene in America. And so it started a longer form conversation about arts and representation and comedy in horror. I think it was taken more seriously in Europe than it was in America. In America, it's just it's like a hand grenade that got snuck into an agency and blew up. So I don't know. I honestly don't know. I mean, really, film festivals have supported it. There was two women in their 60s who were French when I was in Deauville, and I got to like sit in the aisle, and they were sitting right next to me. And there's a scene in the film where a wife shoots her husband a bunch of times, and the woman farther away from me leaned into the woman close to me and said, "America." And she went, "Yep, yep, yep." And so, like, I think there are things that I take for granted, being an American, that the rest of the world will find interesting.
Yeah, but then they're like, oh yeah, but then they're getting that upset over just sleeping with another one. What's the big deal?
The French,
the infidelity was the least of their worries. What's all the kerfuffle about? Yeah, I also wonder.
They're very French about it.
Yeah. It's like the gun. Yeah, that all of that over sleeping with one other woman. I mean, that's what's the big deal?
Yeah, I forgot about that.
I do wonder. I think some of maybe the comedy. It is a very fast movie, so I wonder if some English speaking or non-English speaking audiences might miss some of the rapid fire jokes and stuff. But sometimes we do go a mile a minute, and there's a lot going on, a lot of little subtle jokes that might get lost in there. But I think
especially for you, your introduction where you're like, you monologue in the first bit, and the second scene when you're in the agency and you're like, fuck CAA, I should get that as my license plate.
Yeah,
it's like so quick, and people are talking over each other.
Yeah, it's like boom, boom, boom. It's easy to miss little subtle things. Because like every line has like a specific meaning to it that I think some might get lost. But yeah, I mean the themes are certainly universal of infidelity and lying and cheating. So I think any audience could get something out of it for sure.
Yeah, genre pigeonhole. That's a funny one because you've used to call it a horror and a comedy. Mm-hmm. And I'll be honest, as an English viewer, I've never really thought of it as either, to be honest.
Huh. Oh, really?
Huh. I don't really know what I thought of it as. But...
What? Really? No? Yeah, it was just a mystery. What are you taking?
I know thriller is such a vague term, but at the same time...
I think so we grew up, PJ and I are good buddies, Lil Dicky. And when he was doing Save That Money and Let Me Freak, he was talking, he has a great animated song. I'm spacing on the name of it with Snoop Dogg, but it's an animated music video. And he talks about anti-rap being a new form of rap because at least it's like renovating this old medium whilst doing it better than the cheesy stuff that people are used to. And I feel like that is what we've done with erotic thrillers, where like it's a confession that you couldn't do an erotic thriller like you could in the 90s because people are so nervous about sex, or like, sex is so toxic in America and in the modern world, which is strange to me. But by doing something comedic that's humiliating, to do an erotic thriller with Alan Partridge is far more interesting than just doing, an erotic thriller. I don't think you could do an erotic thriller now. But to do it like this, it's far more interesting to watch.
Yes, it is by all intents and purposes in all English language territories really a dead genre, the erotic thriller.
Yeah. It's weird because also like 50 Shades of Grey is incredibly popular. It was like, it made, a couple $100 million at the box office. Like perverts haven't changed. Human nature hasn't changed. The companies have changed that make movies. And I think, we're very comfortable in this career that we can make something that you can't see on TV because people want that.
I don't know whether the label has much of a foothold in America, but what does it feel like to have to be acknowledged by a label with such an illustrious history and such a status, really, as Arrow Video?
Oh, it's crazy, dude. I open up the Arrow Video app and I'm on the left side of the frame. It's like if you open up the app, it's me in the car from beta test. It's such a trip. It's like, Arrow got me through the pandemic. I was watching fucking Sartana. I was watching Django, all the spaghetti westerns. I was watching Giallo films. Like, so much of our research for this film was through Arrow's catalog of fucking Cat o' Nine Tails, Bird with Crystal Plumage, like movies that otherwise I would not have seen had it not been for their championing of them. And like giallo as a fucking genre is just, you can't find these kinds of movies in America. You have to be told about them from this bizarre English company that loves these movies. So yeah, it is not lost on me for a fucking instant that Arrow picking us up and getting the jokes and supporting us is, it's incredible. Every day I'm like, this is so fucking dope.
Yeah, this movie wouldn't have existed without them and their influence. So yeah. So thank you.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, it's very cool. Peering behind the curtain a little bit for the last question here, but taking strides into micro indie budget filmmaking, and I just got to say thank you, Jim, for being such an advocate for that on social media. It means a great deal to us little guys, I guess I'll call myself.
Yep. It's incredibly important. And when I was coming up, we didn't have many influences that were public on the internet. A lot of them were like near peers, like Trey Schultz or Danny Madden or Tony Ascenda, that were all encouraging of me to make stuff. But when I was coming up, I was like, someday somebody's going to come along and support people on a larger scale and try to encourage people in the same way that we had small encouragements. And then we won Sundance, and I was like, oh, I think that's me. I think I might just try and do that and send the ladder back down. And it's so important. Had I not had people saying you can make something on a Saturday with your friends and it could be good, I never would have been on the world stage. You need these small encouragements from people. And I'm very happy to do that to anybody that is bored to death on my fucking Twitter.
Far from it. And I think that is it for us. The beta test is available on iPlayer. No, it's not. I've got that completely wrong. That's the BBC. Although maybe one day.
One day.
Arrow Player and on Blu-ray on Arrow Blu-ray. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah. Take care. Thanks, Rob.